My name is Elena Brooks. I'm 28 years old, and until 3 nights ago, I believed I was in the kind of relationship people spent their whole lives searching for. Lucas Carter and I have been together for 11 years. We met when I was 17, he was 20, both working in a tiny coffee shop in Denver. I still remember the first time I saw him. Confident, charming, the kind of person who could make strangers feel like old friends. Me? I was quiet, the girl who filled tip jars with doodles and spent breaks reading programming blogs instead of talking to customers. I always thought he was out of my league, but somehow he looked at me like I was the only person in the room. Somehow we clicked. We've been living together for the last 5 years, and 6 months ago, we moved to Seattle so Lucas could start his nurse practitioner program. I work remotely as a software engineer, making more than enough to keep us comfortable while he studies. I wanted to support him, lift him, make him feel secure enough to chase his dreams. I thought that was what love was. But love isn't supposed to feel like this. Not like the last 3 months, when something inside our apartment shifted so subtly that at first, I convinced myself I imagined it. Lucas became distant, always on his phone, always smiling at notifications he didn't want me to see. And whenever I gently asked what was going on, he'd sigh and look at me with this strange mix of annoyance and pity. "You're being paranoid, Elena," he told me one night. "I'm allowed to have privacy." I said, "You're right, of course you are." But inside, something cracked. Because I hadn't accused him of anything. I just missed him. Missed how he used to laugh with me, touch me without hesitation, ask about my day without scrolling. Instead, he had become this shadow of himself, present, but unreachable. Still, I kept making excuses for him. Stress, school, homesickness, anything but the one explanation I couldn't bear to face. What if he didn't want me anymore? 3 nights ago, I got my answer. Lucas was in the shower. Our apartment was quiet except for the water running and the distant sound of traffic. I was lying on the bed, scrolling through work emails, when his phone buzzed. Then again. Normally, Lucas kept his phone glued to him like a lifeline. But for once, he'd left it on the nightstand. Just sitting there, lighting up, vibrating again and again. At first, I told myself to ignore it. I'm not that kind of person. I'm not the jealous girlfriend checking her partner's phone. But the buzzing didn't stop. Each vibration felt like a tap on my shoulder, whispering, "Look, something's wrong. Look." I stared at the screen. 3 notifications from Instagram, from an account I didn't recognize. My heart started pounding, not from anger, but from the sickening fear that something inside the life I built was about to collapse. I reached for the phone. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped it. I told myself, "Elena, you're just checking in case it's his classmates or something urgent." I told myself, "You trust him." I told myself 1,000 lies in under 3 seconds because I needed to believe them. The screen unlocked with Face ID. He had added my face years ago in case of emergencies. I guess this counted. I opened Instagram. At first, it showed me his main account, the one we both used, full of couple photos, latte art, cheesy selfies, and snippets of our move to Seattle. But then I noticed something. 3 accounts. 3. His main one, a second one, an anonymous-looking page where he followed gossip accounts, and a third one, Carter Wildfire, private, over 2,000 followers. Profile picture, Lucas in lingerie I had never seen before, posing in our bedroom while I was at work. My breath caught in my throat. I tapped into the account, and my entire world tilted. Post after post of Lucas in various states of undress, seductive poses, intimate angles, photos taken on our bed, our couch, our shower, photos taken when he said he was studying late, photos from nights when he pushed my hand away and said he was too tired. The comments, dozens, hundreds, from strangers I'd never heard of. And the messages, God. Explicit, graphic, transactional. Men sending him photos, Lucas replying with disappearing images, conversations about meeting in person, conversations about what he charged, conversations about content packages. I felt like the floor dropped out beneath me. The shower was still running. Steam drifted from under the bathroom door. I put the phone back exactly where it had been and lay down, staring at the ceiling. When he came out, he didn't notice anything. He kissed my forehead like nothing was wrong, climbed into bed, scrolled through his phone for a minute, turned over. He slept. I didn't. All night, I lay there replaying everything in my head. Every late-night study session. Every weekend with classmates. Every time he seemed annoyed when I reached for him. Every time he accused me of being paranoid. Was any of it real? Was he real? Was our entire relationship just something he slipped into when he wasn't out there being Carter Wildfire? By sunrise, one thought consumed me. This wasn't just a secret. This was a double life, and I had no idea who my boyfriend really was. I didn't confront him that morning. I couldn't. My mind was too crowded, my chest too tight, my thoughts spinning too violently between disbelief and nausea. I needed time to breathe, to steady myself, to make sure I wasn't imagining things. But Lucas noticed something was off. He always noticed. "Elena, you okay?" he asked, pouring coffee like it was any other day in our perfect little life. "Yeah," I lied. "Didn't sleep well." He smiled softly, almost tenderly, and I hated how it made my stomach twist. How dare he look at me like a loving boyfriend when I had seen the entire other universe he lived in? He left for class later that morning, giving me a kiss on the cheek I barely felt. As the door closed behind him, the silence of our apartment became suffocating. I opened his secret Instagram account again. Every scroll felt like a knife. Every post another betrayal. Every message a betrayal inside a betrayal. The worst part? The comments weren't the worst part. The images weren't the worst part. The messages weren't even the worst part. No, the worst part was the version of Lucas that existed in those conversations. Confident, hungry for attention, flirting without hesitation, telling strangers things he never told me anymore. That version of him was alive, electric, eager. And with me, he had become dull, apathetic, drained. Not because of stress, not because of school, because I wasn't his priority anymore. His validation was coming from somewhere else. By the time he returned that evening, I had rehearsed what to say 100 times. I didn't use any of it. Instead, he walked through the door smiling, dropped his backpack, and pulled me into a hug. "I missed you," he murmured into my hair. Something inside me snapped. "Lucas," I said softly, stepping back, "we need to talk." His entire body stiffened. That was the moment I knew he had something to hide. The way his jaw clenched, the way his eyes flickered to his phone before meeting mine again. "What's wrong?" he asked. "You know what's wrong?" He blinked, confused denial at first, then a flash of panic, then anger. "Elena, what did you do?" "I looked at your phone," I said, my voice trembling but steady enough, "while you were showering." He slammed the fridge shut. "Are you kidding me? You went through my phone? Elena, that's not okay. That's a complete violation of my privacy." His tone was sharp, almost practiced. He wasn't shocked I found something. He was furious he got caught. "I didn't go through everything," I said. "I saw the notifications, and I saw the accounts." His face changed again. Panic. Pure, unmistakable panic. "What accounts?" he said too quickly. "Lucas," I whispered, "don't do this." His breath hitched, just enough to confirm everything without a single word. I straightened my spine. "Who is Carter Wildfire?" Silence. Then he shook his head, voice rising. "You're paranoid. You're seeing things. You're making something out of nothing." "I saw the pictures," I said. "The lingerie, the messages, the everything." His anger evaporated, just like that, like someone switched off a light. He sank into a chair, dropped his head into his hands, and for a moment I thought he might actually break. "Elena," his voice cracked, "I didn't want you to find out like this." "Find out what?" My throat burned. "That you're posting explicit photos online? That you're messaging strangers? That you're selling content behind my back?" He didn't respond. He didn't have to, because his silence was an admission. After a long moment, he whispered, "I didn't cheat." I let out a hollow laugh. "Lucas, you have explicit conversations with strangers. You send them disappearing pictures. It's not cheating," he snapped. "It's just online. Nothing physical. It's business." Business. The word felt filthy coming out of his mouth. I stepped back, the air suddenly cold. "Business? You call what you're doing business?" "Yes," he said sharply. "I'm helping us. I'm trying to contribute without stressing you. You pay for everything. I feel useless. This was just a way to feel needed." I stared at him, stunned. "Lucas," I whispered, "if you needed money, you could have told me." He flinched at the way I said it, like it exposed the lie he'd been telling himself. "We're not struggling," I added. "We have savings. I pay the bills. I make enough for both of us." He didn't answer. Instead, he finally looked up, eyes red. "I missed feeling desirable," he whispered. "I missed knowing people wanted me." And that, more than the content, more than the lies, broke me. Because I had spent years telling him he was handsome, loved, admired. I told him he was extraordinary. I told him he was worth every sacrifice I made to support him. Apparently none of that counted. Apparently I wasn't enough. His voice softened, almost pleading. It was just online. I would never meet anyone. But the way he said it, something felt off. Something in the too quick tone, the way he swallowed hard, the way his fingers tapped anxiously against the table. He wasn't telling me everything. A chill slid down my spine. Lucas, I said quietly, is there someone specific? Someone who's been tipping you a lot? Someone you talk to more than the others? He hesitated. Too long. I see it now. The flicker of a name in his eyes. The way his jaw shifted like he was trying to stop himself from revealing too much. There's no one, he said too quickly. Liar. The word rang through my mind like a siren. I didn't press further. Not yet. I didn't trust myself to handle the truth without breaking. Instead, I said, I need some air. He reached for me. Elena, please, don't go. We can figure this out. But my body was already moving backward, my hand grabbing my keys, my heart pounding so loudly I could barely hear his voice behind me. I walked out. I didn't even put on shoes. I just walked. I ended up at my friend Jessica's apartment 2 blocks away. I didn't tell her anything. Not yet. I couldn't form the words. That night, unable to sleep, I opened our joint bank account. And there they were. Transfers, repeated ones. To a secondary account I didn't know existed. And one name in particular kept appearing in the notes of the payouts on Lucas's OnlyFans record. J. Porter 47. A recurring username. A generous tipper. A thread in this web of lies I wasn't ready to tug on. Not yet. I didn't go home the next morning. Lucas sent 10 texts, then 20, then a voice note saying he was losing his mind and needed to fix this. But I stayed silent. I stayed at Jessica's couch with a blanket that smelled like her lavender detergent, staring at the ceiling, replaying his lies in loops that never stopped. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw him in our bedroom, posing for strangers, dressing for them, undressing for them, becoming someone I never met, someone I never knew, someone who wasn't mine. 2 days passed, then 3. On the 4th morning, I made myself open our shared email account. I told myself I was just gathering documents for the separation process I hadn't yet admitted to myself I was beginning. But the universe has a sick way of placing truth exactly where you don't want it. It was buried in the promotions tab. A single subject line. Your Airbnb reservation. Portland stay confirmed. My blood ran cold. I clicked it. A booking for 2 nights. 3 weeks ago. Under a name I recognized immediately. James Porter. James J. Porter 47. The username tied to hundreds, no, thousands of dollars in tips on Lucas's OnlyFans. My hands began to shake so violently I had to set the laptop down. I stared at the email like it was a bomb. Because it was. A timestamp, a location. A date that lined up perfectly with the nursing conference Lucas swore he had to attend. He didn't go to a conference. He went to meet him. The truth hit me so hard I couldn't breathe. Not for seconds. Maybe a full minute. The room spun. Jessica walked by, saw my face, froze. Elena, what happened? I couldn't answer her. My voice had evaporated. My hands felt numb. Instead, I quietly printed the receipt, slid it into a folder, and stood. Elena, Jessica said, grabbing my arm. Are you sure you're ready to? I have to, I whispered. And I walked out the door. The drive back to our apartment was a blur of red lights and headlights and tears I kept wiping away just so I could see the road. I didn't feel angry anymore. I didn't even feel betrayed. I felt hollow, like someone had scooped out everything inside me. Lucas was at the dining table when I arrived. Textbooks open, laptop playing a lecture video like he could pretend to be a normal student, a normal boyfriend, a normal man. He looked up. Relief flashed across his face. Elena, thank God. We need to talk. I dropped the printed Airbnb confirmation in front of him. His voice died instantly. He stared at the paper, then at me. Then back at the paper. Color drained from his face so quickly I thought he might faint. Elena, I can explain. You were in Portland with him. My voice was disturbingly calm. Weren't you? He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again, and then he broke. Elena, please don't walk away. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. That wasn't an answer. Did you meet him? He hesitated, then nodded. My knees nearly gave out. How many times? I asked, gripping the bookshelf behind me because the world felt like it was tilting. He stared at the floor. Lucas, I said sharper, how many times? 3, he whispered. Just 3. And it wasn't what you think. Oh? I laughed, a cold, humorless sound I didn't recognize. So tell me what I think, Lucas. Tell me what I'm seeing wrong. He swallowed hard. It wasn't cheating. My voice rose. You slept with someone else? How is that not cheating? It was work, he shouted. It was content. It wasn't emotional. It wasn't romantic. It was for money. Work! I screamed. You call what you did work? We stared at each other, breathing hard. Finally, he said something that made my skin crawl. It wasn't everything. My stomach lurched. What does that mean? I asked quietly. Elena, please. What does that mean? He squeezed his eyes shut, shame flooding his expression. We didn't go all the way. The room fell silent. He said it like it was some kind of consolation, like the pieces of infidelity he admitted to should hurt less because they weren't complete. I didn't say anything. I couldn't. He reached for my hand. I stepped back like he slapped me. Elena, he whispered, voice breaking. I didn't love him. I don't want him. I only want you. I wanted to scream. I wanted to cry. I wanted to hit him just to feel something other than this numbness. But I did none of that. Instead, I walked into our bedroom, opened his laptop, and went searching for the thing my instincts told me existed long before I admitted it. I found it in a folder disguised as class notes. Videos. Multiple hotel videos. Lucas and James. Different positions. Different nights. Different rooms. More than 3 encounters. More than not everything. More than just content. This wasn't a mistake. This was a double life he curated, filmed, and profited from. I watched only enough to confirm what I already knew, then slammed the laptop shut so hard the desk rattled. Lucas appeared in the doorway, pale and shaking. Elena, please, don't look at those. Stop, I whispered. Elena, stop! I turned to him, my vision blurred, but my voice steady. You didn't slip. You didn't make one bad decision. You built an entire world behind my back. You filmed yourself with someone else. You sold it. You lied every single day you came home and looked me in the eye. Tears streamed down his face. I felt nothing. You killed us, I said softly. Not me. He reached for me again. This time I walked away. I grabbed my keys, my backpack, my charger, my favorite sweater, and I left. I didn't bother closing the door behind me. I drove until I couldn't see straight. I parked in a grocery store lot and sobbed until my ribs hurt. Then I found a hotel, checked in using my ID, collapsed onto a clean bed that didn't smell like betrayal. That night I decided our relationship was over. I just hadn't told him yet. I filed for legal separation the next morning. Not because I was ready, not because I was strong, but because my body moved on instinct, like it knew I needed to put distance between myself and the man who had rewritten our life without my consent. I signed the papers with hands that trembled so violently the pen scratched the page. The court clerk didn't look at me, didn't ask questions, didn't see the pieces of my life scattered across an unfamiliar office desk. It was strangely comforting, being anonymous in my own collapse. Jessica picked me up afterward. She hugged me so tight I felt my bones shift, and for a moment I let myself sink into her warmth. She didn't ask what happened. She didn't need to. The grief clinging to me said everything. When we returned to her apartment, my phone was drowning in missed calls and messages from Lucas. 41 messages, 5 missed calls, 3 voicemails. I ignored them. Jessica made me tea. I didn't drink it. I just held the warm cup like it anchored me to the earth. But the universe wasn't done with me yet. Around 5 p.m., I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. Hi, Elena. My name is James. We need to talk. I froze. Who is it? Jessica asked gently. I swallowed hard. James. Porter. Her eyes widened. The guy from the Airbnb? I nodded. He wants to talk? Yes. Jessica sat beside me. Do you want to? The truth? No. I wanted to erase the entire universe of men who had taken pieces of my life without asking, but something inside me whispered that I needed to hear whatever he had to say. So I replied, What do you want? He answered instantly, To apologize. And to tell you the truth, Lucas didn't. My stomach twisted. The truth about what? There was a pause, then, everything. We spoke on the phone that evening. His voice was surprisingly soft, younger than I expected, nervous, as if he knew he belonged to the worst chapter of my life but felt guilty stepping inside it. Elena, I didn't know, he said. I swear I didn't. Didn't know what? My voice was flat. That he was in a relationship. That he was living with someone. That you were together for 11 years. I blinked. He told you what? That you were his roommate. I closed my eyes and felt the floor move. He said you two split up a long time ago, James continued, voice shaking. He said you were just living together because Seattle rent was too expensive. God. Of course he did. Lucas hadn't just lied to me. He had lied to him too. Lied to everyone. Created narratives wherever they benefited him. He wasn't just living a double life. He was living multiple parallel ones, shifting like a chameleon, depending on who he needed. I swallowed. How long were you two involved? With the online stuff? Maybe 5 months, meeting in person a little over 2 months. The breath left my lungs. I didn't know he recorded us, James said abruptly. I didn't consent to that. My eyes snapped open. Recorded? James inhaled sharply. The hotel videos, I didn't know he was selling them. I didn't even know he saved them. My head spun. That meant Lucas not only cheated, not only lied, not only built an entire persona behind my back. He legally violated someone else too. James, I whispered, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. It's not your fault, he said bitterly. None of this is your fault. He manipulated both of us. There was silence on both ends. Finally, I asked the question burning in the back of my throat. Did you love him? I thought I did, he admitted, but he wasn't real. Every time I thought we connected, he'd pull away. It was all fantasy for him, a performance. My eyes filled with tears. I whispered, I thought he loved me. James exhaled shakily. You probably got closer to the real him than anyone else ever did. Probably. But even that version of him had crumbled into dust. Before we hung up, James said something that lodged itself in my chest. I'm sorry he hurt you. I'm sorry he used you. And I'm sorry he used me too. None of us deserved the world he invented. Lucas's world started collapsing faster than mine. The nursing program found out. Someone had seen his OnlyFans account. Screenshots were passed around. A student reported him for conduct unbecoming of a healthcare professional. By the end of the week, he was suspended pending review. He called me that night, voice thick with panic. I let it go to voicemail. Elena, he cried through the speaker, please, I need you. I can't do this alone. I made a mistake. I'm so sorry. I'll delete everything. I'll do anything you want. Please, please. His desperation didn't move me. Instead, it felt like confirmation. He wasn't sorry for what he did. He was sorry he got caught. Jessica found me on the balcony, staring at the city lights. You don't have to listen to those, she said softly. I know, but hearing the voicemails, listening to the chaos unraveling around Lucas, it didn't bring satisfaction. It didn't bring revenge. It brought grief. Not for Lucas as he was, but for Lucas as I believed he was. For the version of him I built my life around. For the future I planned on. For the girl I used to be before all of this. Just after midnight, the doorbell rang at Jessica's apartment. Jessica frowned. You expecting someone? I shook my head. She went to the peephole, her eyes widened. Elena, it's him. My stomach dropped. Lucas. His voice was muffled through the door, frantic. Elena, please. Please talk to me. I need you. I can't lose you. Jessica backed away. What do you want to do? I stared at the door handle. My heart raced. My palms went cold. For the first time since this nightmare began, I wasn't afraid of the truth. I was afraid of him. The version of him standing on the other side, desperate, unraveling, unpredictable. Elena, he begged again, voice cracking, please open the door. I stepped back and whispered no, because I finally understood. Some doors aren't meant to be opened again, not even for the people you once loved more than yourself. Lucas didn't leave right away. He stayed outside Jessica's building for nearly half an hour, first knocking, then pacing, then sitting against the wall, head buried in his hands, like a man mourning his own life. Every so often, he whispered my name, hoping I'd cave. But I didn't, not because I didn't feel anything. I felt everything. The grief came in waves, sharp, suffocating, relentless. It hit me in the chest, in the spine, in the lungs, making it hard to breathe. I wasn't ready for the strength of it. I wasn't ready for how it would flatten me. But I was done giving him the power to rewrite my reality. Eventually, Jessica called building security, and they escorted him out. He didn't fight. He didn't scream. He just looked defeated. A strange part of me ached at the sight. Not for him, but for the girl I used to be. The one who believed his promises, trusted his smiles, built her future around him. That girl deserved a better funeral. The next morning, I got an email from the nursing program, not meant for me. It was an automated notification copied to all students and partners in the system. Lucas Carter has been placed on temporary suspension pending official review of a professional conduct violation. Even reading his name next to the word violation felt surreal. Jessica peeked over my shoulder. Good. I didn't feel good. I felt empty. Grief did strange things to me. For the first few days, I drifted through life in fragments. Sleep felt like sinking. Food felt like ash. My body existed, but my mind wasn't sure where it lived anymore. I kept waiting to wake up in Denver, years ago, when life was small and Lucas was gentle. I kept waiting for someone to shake me awake and say, "You imagined all of it." But trauma doesn't let you wake up. It keeps you conscious long after you want to sleep. On the fifth day, Jessica sat beside me on the couch and said gently, Elena, you need to breathe. That afternoon, she made me walk around the block with her. It was cold. My sweater wasn't enough. My eyes stung from the wind and the swelling behind them. But that short walk felt like the first inhale of oxygen after being underwater too long. Later, she said, I think you should see someone, a therapist. I didn't argue, because I knew I was breaking. My therapist's office smelled like eucalyptus and old books, 2 sessions a week at first. Her name was Mia, soft voice, serious eyes. She didn't let me minimize myself the way Lucas always encouraged me to. When I said, maybe I should have paid more attention, she shook her head. Elena, she said, infidelity and deception are choices. They're not reactions to your flaws. And for the first time since everything imploded, I cried in a way that felt cleansing. Not sharp, not panicked, just human. While my healing took its first baby steps, Lucas's world unraveled at the same speed mine began slowly reforming. He sent apology after apology, empty words stacked upon empty actions. Then came the twist. One night, Jessica burst into the living room holding her phone. You need to hear this. It was James. His message was short, clipped, furious. Lucas recorded us without consent. He sold the videos. I'm filing a civil lawsuit. You should know. My heart thudded painfully. Can he do that? I asked. Yes, Jessica said, and Lucas has no defense. I reached out to my lawyer the next day. He sounded almost entertained by Lucas's latest catastrophe. Elena, don't worry, he said. Your separation documents already protect you from his legal mess. James is suing him, not you. Good. I didn't want to be tied to Lucas in any way. Not emotionally, not legally, not financially. A week later, my lawyer called again. Lucas tried to argue that because some videos were filmed while you two were still together, you share partial liability. My blood went cold. What? It won't work, he added. Don't panic. His argument has no legal foundation. I wasn't panicking. I was furious. Even after everything, after the lies, the betrayal, the cheating, the destruction, he still tried to drag me down with him. Jessica seethed when I told her, that man is a tornado, a walking disaster. Elena, you need to erase every trace of him. I wanted to. But 11 years doesn't disappear easily. It unthreads itself strand by strand. As Lucas's life collapsed, mine began, slowly, painfully, coming back into focus. I started running again. The first morning, I barely made it 2 blocks before doubling over, gasping for air, my legs burning. But when I stopped, a strange clarity washed over me. This was my body, my breath, my survival, not his. I went again the next day. And the next, I joined a hiking group one weekend after Jessica forced me to sign up. I almost skipped, but something in me knew I needed to prove I could still choose myself. On the trail, walking among strangers, listening to the sound of boots crunching leaves and wind rustling through trees, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Stillness, no chaos. No secrets buzzing in my head, no fear of a phone lighting up with a stranger's username. Just nature, my breath, my feet on solid ground. Maybe this was what healing looked like. Not loud, not grand, just gentle. 3 weeks after James filed his lawsuit, my lawyer called me again. Elena, he said, it's over. What do you mean? Lucas settled out of court. He had to pay a significant amount. From what I hear, he sold most of his belongings. My chest tightened. He also moved back to Texas to live with his mother, my lawyer added. I didn't feel joy. I didn't feel revenge. I felt closure. Not because Lucas suffered, but because the universe had finally caught up with the truth. I hung up and sat in silence on Jessica's couch, staring at the soft glow of her lamp. Elena? She asked gently. I smiled, a small, tired, but genuine smile. I'm okay, I whispered. For the first time, I think I'm actually okay. That night, I opened Reddit, the account I'd written everything on, and stared at the blinking cursor. I typed, "This is my last update, because this chapter is over, and I'm ready to stop living in the ruins." Then I pressed delete, not because I wanted to forget, but because I finally understood my life didn't end with Lucas. It began after him, 6 months. 6 months can feel like a lifetime, or like nothing at all. For me, it felt like both. Half a year has passed since the night I walked out of the apartment I once called home and left behind the man I once believed was my future. 6 months since my world collapsed, rearranged itself, and slowly, quietly, started building a new shape I never expected. People don't talk enough about the emptiness after survival. You get through the worst part, the explosion, the heartbreak, the betrayal, and then suddenly there's quiet. You wake up one morning and the world doesn't feel like it's falling apart, but it doesn't feel whole either. It just is. The strange neutrality of it is almost more confusing than the pain. But in that quiet space, life grows. Piece by piece, step by step, breath by breath. I stayed with Jessica for almost 3 months before finding a small, one-bedroom apartment on the edge of Capitol Hill. It's tiny, the kitchen is basically a hallway, and the walls are thin enough that I can hear my neighbor practicing terrible saxophone at 2 a.m. But it's mine. My couch, my bed, my mornings, my peace. The first night I slept there, I woke up terrified, heart pounding, convinced someone was lying beside me, lying to me, breathing secrets into the dark. But there was only silence, and the soft hum of the refrigerator. That silence slowly became comforting, a reminder that safety isn't the presence of someone, it's the absence of fear. Therapy became my lifeline. At first, the sessions were raw. I cried until my throat ached. I questioned everything about myself, my judgment, my self-worth, my ability to ever trust again. But week after week, Mia gently put the mirror back in my hands and showed me the truth I'd spent years avoiding. I hadn't failed. Lucas had. I hadn't missed the signs. He'd hidden them. Behind charm, behind insecurity, behind the lie that his validation was somehow my responsibility. He manipulated you, Mia said one afternoon as I fiddled with a tissue, not because you were weak, but because he counted on your strength. I didn't fully believe her that day. But over time, I began to see it, feel it, accept it. Lucas didn't choose the strangers on the internet over me because they were better. He chose them because he needed constant validation, an endless feeding of his ego that no real relationship could sustain. He didn't break us because I wasn't enough. He broke us because he was never capable of staying whole. I started hiking every Saturday. At first, I kept to the edges of the group, listening more than speaking, afraid my cracked pieces would leak out mid-conversation. But nature has a way of quieting the noise inside your head. The rhythm of footsteps, the sound of leaves brushing against your legs, the way sunlight filters through branches and lands softly on your skin. It gave me space to breathe. One morning, standing at the edge of Rattlesnake Ledge, the wind whipping through my hair, the lake shining like a sheet of glass far below, I whispered something I hadn't said aloud in years. I'm free. Free from the lies, from the shame, from the version of myself that accepted crumbs and called it devotion. Free from Lucas's shadow and the person I had molded myself into to keep us alive. Free. 3 months after he moved back to Texas, Lucas emailed me. Subject line, I'm sorry. I stared at it for 10 minutes before opening it. His message was long, rambling, full of explanations that weren't explanations and apologies that didn't undo anything. Near the end, he wrote, I don't know who I am anymore. I miss who we were. I miss you. I wish I could undo it all. For a moment, the old reflex tugged at me, the one that wanted to fix him, heal him, take responsibility for his pain. But then I realized something that brought a strange, quiet peace. The man writing that email was not the man I loved. He never was. That man existed only in my imagination, a version of Lucas built from hope, memory, and the pieces he showed me when it benefited him. The real Lucas was someone else, someone I didn't know, someone I didn't want to know. I didn't reply. Deleting that email felt like closing a door gently, not slamming it, not out of anger, out of acceptance. The final twist came on a rainy Thursday evening. I got a message request on Instagram from a name I hadn't thought about since everything exploded. Melanie Rhodes, Lucas's ex-girlfriend. I paused before opening it, unsure if it was meant to comfort me or reopen wounds I'd spent months stitching closed. But curiosity won. Her message was short. Elena, I heard what happened. I'm sorry you went through that. You deserve better. You always did. I read it twice. It wasn't romantic. It wasn't intimate. It wasn't probing. It was solidarity. A quiet acknowledgement from someone who had survived her own version of him. Someone who understood the emotional labyrinth Lucas left behind in every relationship. I replied simply, thank you, we both did. And that was that. Two women who love the same man learning, separately but similarly, that love shouldn't require self-erasure. I'm not dating again. People keep telling me I should, that I'm young, that I'll find someone, that not everyone is like Lucas. I believe that, but I don't need it right now. For the first time in a long time, I'm learning to wake up for myself, to choose myself, to build a life that isn't shaped around someone else's ambitions or validation. I realized something recently, something that felt like turning on a light in a room I didn't know was dim. I spent so many years afraid of being alone that I never noticed. I wasn't alone. I had myself. And somewhere along the way, I stopped valuing that. Now I'm getting her back. Piece by piece, breath by breath. The future doesn't scare me anymore. Lucas isn't in it, but I am. Fully, wholly, honestly. And that's enough. More than enough. Because losing him didn't destroy my future. It cleared the path to the one I was meant to have all along. A future built on truth, strength, and self-respect. A future where the only person I need to trust unconditionally is me.